Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Are You Spooking Customers with Bad Local Data? I'm Andy Carone from the Sales and Marketing team here at SIM, and I'll be your moderator. That's me and Fred at our last Halloween party. And here is a link if you would like to meet Fred. Now, some quick housekeeping. We will have all attendees on mute. Please use the question tab if you'd like to communicate with us, and please feel free to tweet during the webinar, #SimPartners or SimWebinar. All right, so a little bit of information about Sim Partners. Velocity is our SaaS solution, local CMS that increases local, mobile, and social visibility at a local level. And now let me introduce you to our presenter, Adam Dorfman. He leads our product and development teams here at Sim Partners. Adam.
Thanks, Andy. And thanks everybody for joining. Again, my name is Adam Dorfman. I am a partner here at Spooking Partners, where I oversee the Velocity platform. I've been in the online marketing space for over 15 years prior to starting Sim Partners with John and Jay and the other partners here. I was at Orbitz and CheapTickets.com, where I managed the SEO, worked with the M&A groups, and wore a lot of different hats there. I've been very focused on local search for the last 6 or 7 years, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So here's what we're going to be covering. Essentially, what information local searchers are most interested in, and how to keep inaccurate or missing data from scaring off potential customers. And that's really the key here, is how do you get the information in front of customers and potential customers that is what they need to see when they need to see it. Because if it's not there, a lot of times they are going to be quote unquote scared off and go to whichever business does have that information available to them. So there's going to be 2 main areas of concern that we're going to be covering right here. The first is going to be your business website and how you can improve that, as well as how to improve your business listings on third-party sites like Foursquare, Yahoo, Yelp, Facebook, Google, and City Search, and lots of other ones not listed here. But let's start with the business website. Traditionally, the business website is much easier to clean up, so we always recommend starting there. You have complete control over your own website, and this will allow for you to make faster changes. All right, so when you're talking about locations on your own business's website, they typically start at a business locator if you have multiple locations. So a good example of a locator that functions well and performs in a way that I find most appealing would be, let's say, the Gap. If you go to their locator, you can see here that it has, and you do a search, you can search by street address, you can search by city, you can search by state, you can search by zip code. There's lots of different search functionality. The locator is smart in the sense that it tries and identify what you're searching for and will bring up results even if they're not entirely accurate as it relates to addresses. And it'll return a set of results with critical business information like store hours, phone number, address, as well as, and I find this extremely important, a map that shows where all of the different businesses in a single metro area are and how they're and where they are relative to one another. As we all know, sometimes driving 20 miles in certain areas can take a lot less time than driving 10 miles based on traffic patterns. So knowing exactly where the different business locations are is very important. And if you have multiple locations in a single metro area, highly recommend that you have a map in your primary locator results. Okay, and then there's suboptimal locator experiences, and there's plenty of these out here. Publix is one. If you do a search just for a city, even a really popular city, one of the most popular ones in the US like Atlanta, it will return no results. It also has an extremely poor mobile experience. You see here that it runs on Flash, which means that if I visit Publix, if I'm trying to find a grocery store in Florida or in Atlanta, and I do a search for, and I want to find the nearest Publix grocery store, and I'm on my iPhone and I do a search, I go to their website and try and find one, I will be unable to because it's all driven in Flash. Okay, so some stores will indeed have location results that look good. It has good information there, hours of operation, and will have an address and phone number and things like that. But again, one thing that's missing is a map, right? And I already spoke to the importance of that. I'm not quite sure which one, depending on where I am, I'm not quite sure which of these locations would be closest to me. Is it going to be the 2200 North Riverside location on Harlem Avenue, or is it going to be the Harlem and Irving Park one in Norwich? You know, both of those, depending on where I am in the Chicago metro area, both of those could be close. And if I saw them on a map, it'd probably be very easy for me to make that determination. Bed Bath & Beyond is another one. Again, they have links to get directions, which is good for people that already know what store they want to visit. But if you're not sure which store you want to visit, it's a suboptimal experience for sure. Okay, and then from there, once you do get your search results, back in 2010, Matt Cutts, the head of Google Web Spam, said it is very important and highly recommended that if you are a business with multiple locations, to make sure that each individual location has its own unique web page. This was back in 2010, even as local was just still heating up, still somewhat in its infancy. Nowadays, there's still so many websites out there that the deepest that you're going to go is a search results page. There will not be a unique location page. And why does that matter? You might be thinking, well, I have the address there, I have a link to get directions, I have a phone number. Why would that be important to also have a unique web page? Well, if ranking well in the organic search results is important, it's something that you would certainly want to have. One of the things that Google likes to do is it likes to look at a brand's website and look for an individual location page, and then look at what are called citations throughout the local search ecosystem on sites like Yelp or City Search or Google Plus Local, for instance, and see if there are links pointing back to that brand's individual web page. And if everything matches up, that's a great signal that that location is an authoritative location. That's great from an authoritative signal standpoint. It also means that Google is more likely to think that the location is still in business as well too. Okay, so here's an optimal mobile experience. So it's important with location pages that so much of local search is on mobile devices now, so making sure that you have a good experience on all different types of devices is very important. So you have your desktop and your tablet, which traditionally, let's be realistic, can be pretty similar to one another. But if you're talking about a mobile experience, it's really important that you change it a bit. So when you're on a mobile device, there's two things that customers are usually looking for. They're looking for a phone number, or they're looking for directions to the location. So if your location page is not mobile friendly and it has all this about us information or products carried or things along those lines, highly recommend using responsive design or a unique mobile web page in order to shift the content, that sort of content, further down the page and move up things like phone number and maps. So that is front and center. Here's an example of a suboptimal mobile experience. So there's no location page. This one doesn't have responsive design. It doesn't even have a mobile web page. And in addition, you can see that a lot of the content on the page it slowly loads on mobile devices, and it's in Flash and not mobile friendly. It doesn't render well on mobile devices as well. So if you are a Merrill Lynch customer, you're looking for your nearest location, it's going to be a very frustrating experience if you're on a mobile device. Okay, the second thing that we see oftentimes incorrect and not updated as frequently as we'd like are hours of operation. I can't stress to you how important this is and how frequently we see this incorrect or just outdated and not accurate. This image is hilarious that Andy was able to dig up, but you can see here, you know, open most store hours, open most days about 11 to 12, occasionally as early as 10, some days as late as 1 or 2. That tells people nothing, right? And I have a 3-year-old, so I have very early hours, even on the weekends when I'd love to sleep in. Oftentimes I'm up by 6:30 or 7, and if there's certain stores in my area that are open at 8, I'm very likely to grab the 3-year-old and take him on errands and just get him out of the way because we're both awake and fresh and ready to go. Not knowing, being able to find while I'm out and about which stores are open at 8 versus 9 versus 10 is very frustrating. It's something that I've run into personally. So make sure to get your hours of operation correct on your website. Okay, so that kind of covers the the on-site, your own website types of issues that we've run into that can scare away customers. So let's talk about third-party sites now. And again, we're talking about sites that host business information like Foursquare, like Google+, like Yahoo, like Bing, like Yelp, and like Facebook. Here's a bunch more of them. There's hundreds. So this can be a daunting task, but there are ways to help move this along. We'll be talking through those. Okay, first and foremost, it's important to look at what's going on Google+ Local as well as what's going on in your website, and to try and make everything match as well as possible. So in this example, we found a hardware store called Clark Devon Hardware, and it's clarkdevon.com. It is actually franchise, or it's actually part of the Do It Best hardware family, similar to Ace Hardware. They allow independent hardware store owners to be able to join up with their flagship and be able to use their services and things like that. Now, what we're seeing here is that on the Google+ Local listing in the bottom left, you're going to see Clark Devon Hardware as the business name, but on Do It Best site, it's Clark Devon HWE Do It Best. That is, from a Google standpoint, that is very inconsistent. It creates confusion. It can create duplicate listings. Again, typically the easiest thing to do is to fix what's on your site, and this is kind of that in between what's on your site and what's on third-party site, which is why we started this section with this. Get it right. Try and make everything consistent. It's typically pretty easy. Okay, second thing that we often see are missing locations on third-party sites. Now, a lot of times they're new locations, and I'm using Walgreens as an example here. They recently opened up a store in Chicago at 430 North Michigan Avenue. Just last week, we were down there for a charity called ragsofhonor.us that we've been working with. It's a great charity. Please check them out. But we were down there, and we went to their website, and we were able to find it, no problem. So that image on the left is Walgreens website, and you can see here that they have the 430 North Michigan Avenue listed there. On the right, however, you can see the Google Maps listing, and at this point, that new location has not made it into Google Maps yet. It just doesn't exist whatsoever. And that location's been open for a while now. I mean, at least a month, I would say. So there's no reason why that information shouldn't have been updated within Google. It's something that is typically pretty easy to do, especially if you have tools to allow you to help, or to allow for automation as it relates to that. So that's something that you really want to make sure that your new locations get into Google Maps as well as into all of these other sites as quickly as possible. On the other hand, let's talk about closed locations as well. So a lot of times, if you have a business with lots of brick and mortar locations, some open and some closed, and getting the closed locations out of the local ecosystem is something that is just as important as getting the new ones in there. And I'm using enterprise as an example because, I kid you not, this just happened to me 2 weeks ago. My car went into the shop. It was going to take a while. The shop said, hey, go to enterprise. We have a deal with them. Just let them know that you came from us. Go to an enterprise, let them know that you came from us, and you'll get a special code and we'll pay for it at the end. I'm like, great. I work in Evanston. I did a search quickly at enterprise. I didn't see a map. It was a poor locator experience on enterprise.com. Like, that's fine. I have my iPhone. I'll just grab my iPhone and I'll go to the Yelp app where I'm very familiar with the mapping interface there, and just easy to use. One of the things that's one of my go-to apps. So I do a search there, and lo and behold, there's one very close to the office that's within walking distance, the Enterprise Rent-A-Car Evanston South, 0.8 miles away, exactly what I was looking for. And the next closest one, it looked like, was the one below it at 2636 Green Bay Road. So I go, well, I'm going to go to the closest one, and I start walking to it. It's about a 20-minute walk. I get there, and I get to the address, and I look up, and it's a car dealership now. And I look around, I don't see Enterprise anywhere, so I walk in, and it was hot that day, so I was sweaty and everything, and after, walking for 20 minutes in the humid heat, and I walk in, and I'm like, is there an Enterprise here? And they go, oh, no, that's been closed for over 2 years now. Now, needless to say, hearing that it had been closed for over 2 years, I was more than a little annoyed at that point, so I had to go back out and call a taxi. There's no taxis around there. Wait 10 minutes for a taxi to come and get me and actually take me to the other location, which was 3 miles away at that point. So an example of where me, a customer of Enterprise, needing to get to one of their locations, went to one of the most popular third-party business directories like Yelp, and the information was completely outdated and incorrect. We're talking over 2 years outdated. So again, using tools and automation, it's possible to keep that more current, and something that I would highly recommend that you do so as not to scare away customers. Okay, so duplicate business listings. This is more of a tactical issue. So if you have more than one listing for an individual location, so here Sheraton has 2 hotels apparently at the same exact address in Rosemont, Illinois. Clearly that's not the case. There should only be one. But what it does is it can create duplicate listings within Google. It can cause the amount of reviews that you get to be split between the 2 locations, which is bad from a ranking perspective. It means that there's 2 listings you have to maintain. There's just many reasons to not have that. So go ahead, and if you see a listing of your business happen twice, make sure to go and clean it up. Okay, incorrect categories. So here's a funny example where in the sci-fi and fantasy section of a book club, we see a bunch of Marilyn Monroe books. Right, that's probably maybe the fantasy part, but certainly not the sci-fi part. Should Marilyn Monroe ever be in this section? So choosing your categories is very important. When choosing categories, what I like to tell people is start broad. Just if you're a pizza place, put pizza as your primary category. Not that you deliver, not that you're a restaurant, not that you also serve rigatoni or salads or sandwiches or anything along those lines. Really, you just want to start with pizza, and then on all of these different sites, go ahead and put in other categories, as many as you're allowed to, but start with the one that makes the most sense, and it should be very obvious what that is. Okay, another issue that we often see on third-party sites is a lack of reviews where appropriate. There's no reason why a brand as big as Kmart should have 0 reviews for some of their locations, even on a newer review platform like Google+. So there's lots of ways to encourage reviews and to automate that process, something that we very much recommend that you do. It's also something that can really help with your organic rankings. There's a lot of correlation studies these days that show amount of reviews are very much correlated with how frequently certain businesses show up in search results. So it's something that we very much recommend. The other thing that we see businesses sometimes not do is not address negative reviews. So a lot of times a negative review will come in and they'll just ignore it. They'll pretend that it doesn't exist. They'll get really upset and they'll just be very upset and just try and forget about the whole thing and just hope that a positive review comes in place. That is not the way that you want to think about negative reviews. To me, a negative review is an opportunity. And I'll give you an example. This is another recent one. About a month ago, we ordered from Panera. We catered in lunch. It was a quarterly meeting. We catered in lunch from Panera to our office. And Panera was well over an hour late when it came to delivering the lunch. And about 45 minutes after the fact that it should have been delivered, I sent just this annoyed tweet, like one of the many tweets that you see on Twitter all the time, of something along the lines of a lot of hungry people in the office right now and sad faces. Panera's over 45 minutes late, and just kind of down on Panera, down on everything else. And almost instantly, Panera replied and said, "We're really sorry to hear about that. I just added you as a friend, or I just started following you. Follow me back and DM me all the details so that we can address it and make sure that this doesn't happen again." Instantly, just the fact that they acknowledged it, to me, turned me from somebody that was very unlikely to have recommended Panera to anybody in the future to somebody saying, you know what, there's somebody at this business that gets it and that actually cares about me personally. And even though I was just one of thousands of people that was just complaining at Twitter at that very second and that very day, they still discovered that tweet. They were monitoring for it, and they addressed my concern. And instead of me becoming somebody that was very down on the Panera brand, I wouldn't say that I'm an evangelist for it, but I'm very likely to still recommend them to my friends and to take people there. Okay, so to wrap up, let's talk about an action plan. So where should you start? As I said at the beginning, make sure your business information on your website is accurate and up to date. Again, easiest place to start. You have control over your website, so do what's best for it. Make sure to optimize your Google Plus local listings for locations. Again, most of the local search traffic is going to be coming from Google. There's lots of different factors that influence Google, but optimize your Google Plus local listings. It warrants you taking the time to look at those specifically, so go ahead and do that. Now, when it comes to the hundreds of other sites, we recommend that you enlist the data aggregators like Newstar Localese, InfoUSA, Factual, Axiom, and distribute all of your data through them, and they'll in turn distribute your data through to the hundreds of local directories, GPS devices, mobile apps, and things along those lines that house business information. Now, after you do that, and after you've just been distributing your information for a couple months, you may want to go and check some of the most important sites in your vertical. So if you're a hotel, you're going to want to look at TripAdvisor and see, has the data been cleaned up? Is it accurate? You're going to want to look at, if you're a restaurant, you're going to want to look at Yelp and say, is the information on Yelp accurate? Are there duplicate listings that need to take care of? So some of those higher or more important sites are always worth going in and updating manually. So go ahead and take the time to do that. Then you want to go ahead and monitor and respond to reviews. So please, again, reviews are an opportunity. They're something that you should be encouraging at any time through your business transaction with your customers. You should be asking people to go to Google and leave your reviews, go to Yelp and leave your reviews, go to TripAdvisor and leave your reviews, City Search and Yahoo Local and so on. All those places you want to be encouraging reviews. And you're going to want to respond to all of the reviews that come in too if you have time. So for positive ones, it can be a quick thank you for the kind words. We're really happy that you're a customer. We're really glad you enjoyed the experience. For negative reviews, it's we're so sorry to hear about this. Here's a way to contact me. Let's get in touch, and then you can take it offline and address their concerns there. And then finally, if you have many locations, dozens, scores, hundreds, thousands of locations, there's technology out there that can help you automate and scale. Velocity is the platform that we have. There's others out there, but clearly there's ways where you don't have to, if you have 1,000 locations, you don't have to go and do this piecemeal one by one for each individual location. Certainly ways to make this much more efficient than that. So to wrap things up, you want to try and do things that aren't going to scare your customers, but instead are going to make them very happy and make your business very warm and inviting to them.
All right, so I know we're at about our 15-minute mark, I think maybe a little bit over, so thanks for hanging with us. We're going to stick around and handle any questions that there. I know I saw a couple come in, and if you need to scoot, that is fine. If you can stick around with us, we will handle your questions, and if we don't get to all of them, then we will email you after the fact. So let me take a look at questions here. All right, so we have quite a few that came in. Let me take a look here. Okay, so regarding negative reviews, how do you handle it when a customer complains multiple times on the same channel, example for Facebook, in a very short time span? We had 2 instances where a customer went on our Facebook page and posted multiple times, sometimes on other people's comments to complain.
Yeah, so social media has certainly made this much trickier. The one thing that we don't necessarily recommend doing is going in and trying to suppress comments, because they're going to get out there no matter what. I think people are quickly going to find your clients or your primary customers are going to quickly see that it's the same person that's just railing against you, and that's common in any situation. There's always going to be that really vocal person. What I would recommend doing is every time that they post, make sure to address their last post and point out how many times you've already addressed that concern in a very positive to neutral manner. Never, don't start bickering with them. Always take the higher ground. Just always apologize and say, like I've mentioned previously, we're really sorry that you had a bad experience. We've already offered to help make this right for you in this way, this way, and this way. Clearly, what your experience was not the experience of most people. So just continue taking the high road, continuing to respond. Don't try and suppress the comments, because that will more often than not backfire.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and then we will address the rest of them with you via email after the webinar. So we have here, how do I develop a relationship with a data aggregator?
That's a good question. So historically, it was somewhat difficult to develop a relationship with the data aggregator. A lot of times you had to go through third-party sites in order to, or use a third party in order to actually get to the data aggregator. Good news is that for most of them, I believe all of them but Axiom now, you can go and submit your data directly to the data aggregators, whether you're a large business or a small business. Now, if you're a small business and you only have a couple locations, something I would recommend just working directly with the data aggregators. Just go to their websites, Neustar Localese, just Google Neustar Localese, Google Info USA, Google Axiom, Google Factual, and you'll be able to do it directly on their website. If you have hundreds or thousands of locations, managing all of those on a regular basis in order to keep the data aggregators up to speed all the time, you may want to utilize a third party that will help automate that process. And in that case, certainly we would be more than happy to assist you, and there's other solutions out there as well too.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our webinar for today. Thank you for attending. And if you would like to find more resources on any of the local search that we've talked about or additional local subject matter, please visit our resource center. Here is the link, and follow us on Facebook, etc. We look forward to seeing you at another webinar soon, and have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.